Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Zero from TechDragon.info, and today we're gonna take a look at mechanical keyboards and in special the switches that go with them. So we're gonna go over first, real quick, what is the difference between a membrane keyboard and a mechanical. And in very short, we have a keycap here from a membrane keyboard and one from a mechanical keyboard. Basically, if we flip them over, we shall see that the camera wants to focus in. Come on, there we go. This one is closed off, and this one actually has a little plus sign. Let's get that focused. There we go. Little plus sign in it. And basically that is the difference, because this one doesn't actually do anything with your keyboard. We'll get back to that in a second. This one does. So in very short, membrane, this bit that sticks out pushes down on something that then makes contact with your keyboard, and your keyboard knows that the circuit is complete, so current can go through, and that's how it works. So this doesn't do anything. It's the keyboard. Where's my focus point? There it is. It's the keyboard that does something. So these keycaps are just that. They're just something that push down, right? Now, with mechanical keyboards, that gets a little bit different. We have keycaps, which is just the thing that goes on top that you press. And we have this little thing, and this is where all the magic happens. This is a Cherry MX switch. Now, the brand sort of became the standard for the name for these switches, kind of. But Cherry Switch is actually a brand. And as you can see, this presses down, and that is basically, in very much essence, the difference between the two. So let's take a look at the difference in the different kind of switches that you have, because that is where this whole thing comes down. So let's start off with a green switch. You can sort of find a focus point. There we go. See that there's a green switch in there. And they are actually color coded, so that's nice. Let's put them in our little test bed here, and immediately you can hear that clicking noise. So an often made mistake is that all mechanical keyboards actually click. They don't. That's not a thing. It's just some of them. So what it is the click is actually feedback to tell you when the key is actually registering. So it's registering right there, but if we get a closer look, it can still go down more after the click. So click, down more. So the click is just to let you know, your ears know basically, that you're there, that you don't have to keep pressing. So part of the sound of a mechanical keyboard is that click. But also when people are just bad typing, they're doing this. You're very distinctively hearing it bottoming out. Bottoming out is hitting the bottom of the key. And that's what you're always doing with a membrane keyboard. You always have to push down that key to hit that thing that's underneath the key. So this is sort of the sound you're always hearing, minus the click obviously, on a membrane keyboard. But the thing with a mechanical keyboard is that you don't have to. You can stop. And these keys sort of let you know when you can stop. There's three different kinds. You have linear, you have tactile, and you have clicky. Those are the three different types. So let's take a look. This is a green switch, which means that it has the clicky, as you can hear. It's non-linear because the click means that it's non-linear. Linear is that it just goes straight down without any interruption. This one has a distinctive click, and it also has some feedback. You can sort of see my finger like bump every time I go past the clicky part. So it offers a little bit of resistance and then goes through. That lets you feel that you're there. And then the click is an auditory one, so you can hear it. So the clicky does nothing but just letting you hear. You can have the tactile bump without the click. So looking here, this has a pressure of about 0.7 newtons to push down on it. It's, I guess, in the middle. It's not the heaviest, it's not the lightest, but it's somewhat in the middle in terms of heaviness. So that is the green switch for you. Let's move on to the next one. We have the blue. The green switch is sort of an all-round one if you like the tactile feedback and if you like the clickiness and if you like the heavier key. So the blue is pretty much the same, with the difference that it's much lighter. The blue is 50.50 newtons to press down, and that basically just makes it just lighter. So blue is often favored by people that type a lot. So if you're writing a book, you know, that kind of typing a lot. It's just a lighter and gives you the very clicky, distinctive sound. So let's hear that for a sec. And that's without bottoming out. That's the sound with bottoming out. So you should always try to avoid bottoming out if you can. So that's the blue one, very similar to the green, but mostly for typists, I guess is the best way of putting it. Moving straight along, we get into the brown. And let me put it in test bed here. Focus camera, you can do it. I said focus. Yes, thank you. So brown, as you can hear, it's pretty silent. Brown does have the tactile feedback, so it has a little bump in the middle before you bottom out, because this is the bump that's bottoming out. As you can see, it's about 2 millimeters. That's a phone, that's something else. So about 2 millimeters until you hit the bump, and then another 2 to actually bottom out. And the bump is when it actually registers, so that's when you can stop doing anything. So that's the brown. Brown is pretty good, pretty all round. It does give you the feedback of when it actually registers. The push down force is 0.45 newtons, which is the same for the reds, which we'll get to in a second, same for the silver, which I don't have here. So yeah, that's the brown. It does have feedback. It's quiet, as in it doesn't have a click, and it's relatively light to push down. So moving straight along, let's leave that one there right now. We'll switch over to the red, and red is basically, as you can see, it's red in there. Red is sort of the favorite for gamers. It's not want to say hair trigger, but it's pretty, as you can see, and here. This one is linear, so there's no bump. It's pretty light to press down. This is it bottoming out. And there's one more thing you can do about fixing that sound if you keep bottoming out. We'll get to that in just a moment. So red is the same force as the brown one is, but you just don't have the bump in the middle. So it's just linear, so it will register right here, and you can still go further, but there's no use. So, and it's basically why you would want this or need this is that for gaming, when you're pressing down a lot, your fingers eventually get fatigued, especially like shift and space, you know, just having to hammer that the whole time. And these just offer less resistance to push down and less resistance to hold down if you need to. So overall, your fingers are just going to get less tired from using these. So that is for gaming the main advantage, and that it's just quicker to actually register, because you only have to press it down half before it registers, not all the way. So if you would time this from top to bottom, it takes that long, and from top to half, it technically takes half that time. So like if you fully press this thing down, this one will actually register when you're here, and it doesn't do anything when you go down further. Where with a membrane keyboard, you have to press all the way down before it registers. So when you're in those hair trigger moments, and you just have split seconds, these actually register sooner because they register halfway down the press rather than at the bottom of the press. So that is why gamers often go for either red or brown. Brown if you like the feedback, and red if you just want the smoothness. So moving right along here to the next one, we have the white. Let's get it in our test bed, if I can actually get it in there. There we go. So what is so different about the white? Well, it basically is a bit more force, and it has a bump in it. So you have that tactile feedback. Button's on there crooked. There we go. Fix it. So you have the tactile feedback. I don't know if you can see from my finger movement. And this is not bottoming out, because that is. You can hear distinctive hearing the acrylic at the bottom. Bottoming out. Not bottoming out. So this one is a bit more force to press down on, and you do have the tactile feedback, so you have the little bump and no clicky. So overall, I'm not sure what this one would be good for. I guess if you like it not being noisy, so no click, you like the tactile feedback, but you want a little bit more force. So it's just exactly the same as the brown one. So potentially good for gaming if you just like a bit more heft on your keys when you're pressing down on them. So a bit more force required to push them down. I guess here you can see the clicky point, the tactile feedback, and then bottoming out is that much. So it registers, registers right there, and this is bottoming out. So moving right along, we have two more to go, I think. We have the black one, I do believe, yes, black one. What is different about the black one? It is the same force. Is it the same force? No, it's slightly different. It's 0.60 newtons. So not as heavy as the green, not as heavy as the gray. It's slightly less than that, but it's more than the red, and this is basically a linear one, as you can see. There's no tactile feedback, no click. It's just a bit heavier to press down. So that is the black. It's the same as the red, just more force required to press down on it. And moving along to the last one that I have here, which is the gray. Let's get that in there. There we go. The gray is also a linear, but even heavier. So let's put the black one right next to the gray. And this is probably not going to show on camera. But yeah, this one is a little bit easier to press down than this one. It's just a little bit more force required. So the gray is amongst the heaviest, I think, in our current lineup, or the heaviest to push down on. So this is a pretty hefty one to push down. There's a lot of force. So for gaming, this would be very annoying because you require a lot of force to push down. But if you don't want to accidentally hit keys, like I can tap this. I'm tapping it pretty heftily and it's just not moving. With this one, as you can see, with about the same force, goes down a lot more. If you then, for comparison, put in the red, focus, there we go. This is hard to focus on, it's all transparent. Yeah, you can see the difference. So this is the mediocre one, the hardest to press down on, the lightest. And I'm trying to put the same amount of force on. Like, now you can sort of see it here. Like, I'm trying to linearly put force on all of them. You can see that the middle one is just giving the least and the outer ones are going the most. I'm curving my fingers a little bit, otherwise it wouldn't be fair, but you see what I mean. Like, the middle one just doesn't want to move. The left one moves a little bit and the right one just goes. So yeah, lightest, medium, heaviest. So that is the difference between the keys. Now, to give you an idea, we got a battery here, and if we put a battery on the red, it will not press it down. So that is the amount of force, just so you have an idea, because it's very difficult to explain this stuff, and I had no idea either. I was lucky enough to have a colleague that had a mechanical keyboard that could help me out, so I could try it, because I did actually get one. Soon a review on that. I just wanted to get this out. So I went with the reds because gaming and typing, it's pretty nice and just doesn't fatigue your fingers, but I was trying to think, how can I convey the weight of pressing down on this to other people? So I figured, let's get a battery. So one battery is not enough to push down on it. If we get two batteries and put them on top of each other, let's see if I can use one hand. Trying to let, hold on, let me switch that out. Trying to let one rest on the other. This is difficult to do with one hand, okay? As you can see, that sort of gets to the point where you're pressing down. So about the weight of two of these batteries is what you need to press down to get the red down. Sorry, that was probably loud. So just put that, to put that in perspective. So that's about the difference between, or how much force is required for the red one. So that is the difference between these keys and how they work. Hopefully that was informative to you. Hopefully you got a good description of all of the different keys. Now there's different brands, and the different brands have sort of the same naming scheme with like red and black and green and blue, but they're often not quite the same. So you're gonna have to look at the specs to really see the difference between them. So if you want to see what those are like, keep that in mind, that they are just different. But yeah, that is the difference here. So let me put everything in here once more and we'll go over all of them just once more, so we'll be right back. So here we got the main one. So we have red, which is the lightest. We got black here, which is the middle, and we got gray at the other end of the spectrum. So lightest, slightly heavier, heaviest in terms of push down force, and these are linear. So there's no click, no tactile bump, nothing. So this is just purely down to force. So most force, a little bit less, considerably. Like this jump is bigger than this jump in terms of weight. You can definitely feel like light, medium, heavy. And then for the clicky ones, the most commonly used one, where's my brown one? I have too many switches here. That doesn't look like a brown one. Here it is. We'll put that one in for comparison as well. So in terms of clickiness, we have these two that are actually clicky. So we have the blue one. This is just a small recap here. Blue one, what is the blue one? Blue one, there we go, is 50 Newton, 0.50, not 50, 0.50, and is clicky. We have the brown one, which is 0.45, so it's the same force as the red one, but with tactile. So these are all tactile, these two are clicky, this one is not, as you can hear. that was bottoming out. This one's not clicky. Clicky. So this is the blue one. What did I just say? Brown is 0.45. Blue one is 0.50. And then as a last one we have the, what are we looking at? Green. There we go, is 0.70. So green in terms of pushdown force is right along, right between these. So this is black, yes, 60, 70, 80. So in terms of weight, it's like 45, 60, 70, 80. Yeah. Black, gray. Just so you can have the colors. So blue and green are just the same, just slightly heavier, well, lighter, heavier in pushdown. So hopefully this helps you. Hopefully you have a clue what the difference is between these keys and what they can do. Let's see if we can zoom in here without extreme close-up. Nope, too far. There we go. Sort of. Oh, that's a little bit closer. Yeah, but there we have it. Mechanical keys, how they are used, how the difference is between them. Yeah, there you go. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm not a total expert, but I have been doing a lot of reading, so I've been gathering a lot of information the last couple of days on these. So yeah, let me know if you want to know anything, and there we have it. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, please subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.